This US Open tennis preview on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog. Underdog's got a brand new offer for new customers. Play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you sign up with the promo code SGPN. That's $50 in bonus funds when you play just $5 with Underdog when you sign up with the promo code SGPN.
This is where barrier breakers meet dream chasers. And the OGs meet the next to bees. Wow. Where the stars, under these lights, sensational, meet a whole new electricity. This is where tradition meets trending. And every moment is history. The US Open, spectacular awaits.
You are listening to your US Open Tennis Futures Preview here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Notice I didn't say men's preview because more so than any other future show that we've done, we are going to be touching on the women's side of the draw. So this isn't solely a men's preview on this specific occasion. Depending on how this goes, that's going to dictate how much women's tennis we do in the future. But I have some pretty strong leans on the women's side of things. So this is going to be a show which does enough women's tennis for it to be an overall future show. You can follow the Sports Gambling Podcast Network over on X at the SGP Network. That's at the SGP Network, and also at Gambling Podcast. That's at Gambling Podcast. You can also follow me on X. I'm the host of the Soccer Gambling Podcast, the winningest podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. And that account is at SGP Soccer. That's at SGP Soccer. You can follow all of the other podcasts as well, and you can make sure that you never miss any of them by downloading the SGPN app. It really is the easiest way to make sure you never miss any of our free picks or any of our free pods. If you're looking for additional free picks and free pods specifically from me, be sure to check out YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts and search Lock Betting whilst you are there. That will give you the free Lock Betting podcast. That's where I'll be posting my NFL content this season. And over on YouTube, my colleague Cav is posting 32 team previews, short previews for the NFL. This is short form content, 1 minute or 2 minutes. And that is over on the Lock Betting YouTube channel. So search for Lock Betting on YouTube and search for Lock Betting wherever you get your podcast for free bonus NFL content. The Bundesliga show, the German Football League, is also covered on the Lock Betting podcast. And over on the Lock Betting YouTube, I also post bonus videos, including an opening line report for the EPL and free play winners as well. So be sure to search for Lock Betting both on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. But of course, if you want to get all of my official plays, head over to my website, lockbetting.com. Over on that website, you can sign up for a transparent and tracked service that has delivered 146 months in a row of transparent and tracked profit. What that means is, for over 12 years, I haven't had a single losing month in sports betting. Where you sign up for Lock Betting is the same place where you can find my historical spreadsheets that contribute towards the 146 months. Or if you want to look at the latest spreadsheets, go to the Instagram. The Instagram is the hub for everything that we do. The Instagram is at Lock Betting. There you'll find the latest spreadsheets. You'll find the 3 latest spreadsheets pinned to the top of the page. You'll find betting information videos and you'll find free plays. It's also the best place to contact me if you have any questions about this service. Now, by looking through these spreadsheets, they'll give you the information you need. They'll make you feel like this is real. And it is, because it's a tracked and transparent service. But it'll also give you a good idea of how much money you might need to get involved. I can tell you now, we manage a bankroll sensibly. By looking through those spreadsheets, you'll see the type of bets we do, the sports we bet on, and most importantly, how we manage a bankroll, which will let you know if this service is applicable for you. I can tell you it's applicable for anyone that has a disposable income and anyone who's looking to start investing in sports betting rather than gambling. And when I say gambling, I'm talking about that ride or die approach. I'm talking about that degens only approach. I'm talking about people that feel like hedging is for pussies. Hedging isn't for pussies. Hedging is for people that are looking to invest in sports betting and want to start making money from sports. And that's what we do. And we've done it every single month. We've done it on a monthly basis for 146 months in a row. The evidence is there. And you don't need a huge bankroll to get started. So you're not looking at $1,000, $2,000, a couple of $100 should do it. And you can get started and start making money investing in sports. With tennis in particular, we have absolutely steamrolled it since we began this service. We are 44-3 with tennis Grand Slams. What that means is that we've covered 47 slams since lockbetting.com began, and we've won at 44 of them. So this is definitely a red hot service for tennis in particular. We've absolutely blasted all the slams this year, particularly the French Open where we destroyed it, and we're coming off a successful Wimbledon. So we're coming into the US Open with loads of momentum, and we look to sweep the slams with profit this year by winning here in the US Open.
On the men's side, two names stand above the rest. Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz. Together, they've won the last 7 Grand Slam titles, trading blows and raising the bar in a rivalry that's already defining a generation. Their unforgettable 5-set duel at the 2022 US Open was a turning point, a match that announced a new era with authority. Now, in 2025, Sinner enters New York as a 4-time Grand Slam champion. Alcaraz arrives with 5. Both are chasing more than just titles. They're battling for the throne. Who will rise to rule the sport's most electric stage? As the men's game surges into a new era, the women's field is already being led by a top group of consistent Grand Slam champions, each one ready to define the next decade of dominance. This includes Aryna Sabalenka.
Hi, guys.
Reigning US Open champion and a 3-time Grand Slam champion, who's poised to take another step toward all-time greatness. Meanwhile, Coco Gauff returns to home soil with more promise than ever after winning her 2nd Grand Slam title at Roland Garros. She will be looking to continue to fulfill her potential while inspiring the next generation on and off the court. And finally, Iga Swiatek, a 6-time Grand Slam champion, now in the conversation of the greats of women's tennis, will be looking to repeat her 2022 success after a dominant Wimbledon campaign. 3 standout champions, 1 stage. The next chapter of women's tennis is being written in real time. Right behind them, a wave of American talent is roaring back into the spotlight. Madison Keys finally claimed her long-awaited Grand Slam title in Australia this year, 8 years after falling just short at the US Open. It was a story of patience, persistence, and perfect timing. Jessica Pegula, an unshakable talent, reached the US Open final last year and has been inching closer to glory ever since. Now, could 2025 be the year her relentless consistency pays off? Amanda Anisimova, back from injury and stronger than ever, is turning heads after a stunning grass court season, including a run to the Wimbledon final. And then there's Emma Navarro. Her striking upsets over Gauff and Badosa last year took her to the semifinals and announced without a doubt she belongs with the best. On the men's side, the depth is just as impressive. Taylor Fritz, a US Open finalist last year, returns with a renewed hunger to finish what he started. Frances Tiafoe and Ben Shelton continue to light up every court they touch, thrilling fans with electric shot-making and fearless confidence. Tommy Paul has quietly carved out a place at the top of the rankings, and he's building a game that could take him all the way. This isn't a resurgence on the horizon. It's already happening, and under the lights of Flushing Meadows, The moment is now.
The moment is now indeed for me to actually start covering the odds for this US Open. We'll do it our usual way. We'll begin with the men's. We'll look at the outright odds and we'll talk more in detail about individual players as we run through these quarters, and then we'll arrive at some picks. Jannik Sinner is the favourite to win the US Open this year, despite the fact that he pulled out of Cincinnati in the final, 5-0 down to Alcaraz. Question marks over his health, over his injuries. I don't have those question marks when it comes to Sinner. I was confident that he would go on to win Wimbledon, even though he was 2 sets to love down against Dimitrov. I needed a retirement to go through. I don't necessarily feel like he needed a retirement to go through. I felt like after he had that medical timeout, he would have come back and won the game. But people have their own opinions. That's mine. And I was successful in backing Sinner. I actually took him at even bigger odds after that fiasco with Dimitrov. And he went on to oblige, went on to win the semi-final against Djokovic, the final as well against Carlos Alcaraz. And I think he won both of those matches handily, particularly the one against Djokovic. I think we've reached a situation now where I can see Djokovic still competing and maybe even beating Alcaraz at a slam. I don't think there'll ever be a Grand Slam match ever again where Novak Djokovic will beat Jannik Sinner. They're just too similar. Jannik Sinner is Novak Djokovic in his prime. And this version of Novak Djokovic, who's closer to 40 than he is to 30, will not be the prime version of himself, which is what Jannik Sinner is. So we get a prime version of Novak Djokovic in Jannik Sinner at 6-5 plus 120 to win this tournament. It's then 15-8 on Alcaraz. That's still a big price on Alcaraz, by the way, considering the fact that these two have dominated the game in recent years and keep playing each other in the final. And Alcaraz does have quite a nice draw, quite a nice run to the semis. I don't think that's a terrible price on Carlos Alcaraz, although I will say there is a bigger danger, a couple of bigger dangers in Alcaraz's quarter than there are in Sinner's, who, for me, has a clear route through to the final. We'll talk about that when we get to Q1. Then it's a big drop down to Novak at 16-1. You have Zverev at 22, the same price as Ben Shelton, who's probably impacted by the fact he is in Alcaraz's quarter. Jack Draper's at 25-1. He's impacted by the fact he's in Sinner's quarter. Then you have Taylor Fritz at 28-1. That is a big price on him. And everyone else is bigger than 66-1, including former winner Daniil Medvedev, who's at 80-1. Huge price on him, but he has had an absolutely awful year. So I'm not expecting too much from him here at this tournament. So as I said, we'll talk specifically about these individual players now as we run through their individual quarters. And looking at Sinner's quarter first here, quarter one, this is an absolute layup in my opinion. He is the 1-3 minus 300 favourite. For me, for him to not win this quarter and for anybody else to win it here that I'm going to mention, he would need to be unhealthy. If Sinner's at 100% health, if Sinner's at 75% health, he wins this quarter. If he's at 100% health, he wins this quarter without dropping a single set. Beneath him, you have Draper, 6-1. Bublik, 20-1. Tommy Paul, 25-1. Musetti, who's primarily a clay court specialist, at 40-1. Gabriel Diallo, 50-1. And everyone else is bigger than 66-1. I can't make the case. There isn't really any reason for me to waste time on this podcast to make a case for anybody to not win this quarter other than Jannik Sinner. And that's been a consistent theme throughout the year. And I could do it. I could come on these shows, waste your time, waste my time, and tell you that somebody is a banana skin for Jannik Sinner. I could do the same when I get to Carlos Alcaraz as part of the draw, and I am actually going to try. I'm actually going to find a case for one particular player when we do get to Carlos Alcaraz as part of the draw. But I can't do it here for Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner is a solid parlay piece at 1-3 minus 300 to win this quarter. Moving on to quarter two. This is a quarter that is led by Alexander Zverev. He is the 2-1 favourite to win it. And immediately when I see that, because of how inconsistent Zverev can be, and because he's always liable to trip up over a banana peel, you start to try and find value in the quarter. You start to try and look for a way to oppose Zverev. I can't actually do it here. I do think this is a quarter that Zverev should win. And I even think there's some value at 2-1 plus 200. Because next down in the market is De Minaur. And De Minaur is great at taking out opponents that he's a favourite to beat. He's a really, really good baseliner. He can grind out points. You don't want to get into a rally with De Minaur unless you are a player who is ranked above Alex De Minaur. And for that reason, I think there's really good value on De Minaur to get to round 4 and maybe even to get to a potential quarterfinal. But when he comes up against those top players, they know how to beat Alex De Minaur. So for me, he's not really offering up much value to win the quarter here at 7-2, but he is someone who in other markets can go further in the tournament than the rest of the pack here in this quarter. And I like him to reach round 4. I like him to reach the quarterfinals. And then when he comes up against better players, he will come unstuck. Karen Khachanov at 9-1. He has more potential to go toe-to-toe with the top players. He's had runs at other slams. He offers up more value here in this quarter than De Minaur. Rublev does too, but he has the capacity to collapse. And I do see him exiting the competition before he actually comes up against any of the top players. And Felix Auger-Aliassime never quite reached his potential. He's at 20-1 here, but whilst he can go toe-to-toe with the top players, Felix Auger-Aliassime should already be a top 5 player and should be more consistent based on what the expectations were of him a few years back. So for me, Zverev wins it at 2-1. No value on De Minaur at 7-2. There is some value on Khachanov at 9-1. He's worth a sprinkle. Not really in line with Rublev at 10-1. Felix Auger-Aliassime, maybe he's worth a sprinkle at 20-1. Maybe now he'll break out. But for me, Zverev wins this quarter. Everyone else bigger than 25-1 and not really worth a mention. Moving on to quarter 3. This is the quarter that's led by Novak Djokovic. He's available at 13-8. You'll have Taylor Fritz at 7-2. Then it's a big drop down to Holger Rune 8-1, Tiafoe 10-1, Mensik 14-1, Fonseca 22-1, and Sebastian Korda at 33-1. Everyone else is bigger than 40s. Sebastian Korda is having a little bit of a resurgence. I think there could be some value on him to make it through some rounds, but he won't end up winning this quarter. Fonseca, he's very overrated in these markets still. Until I see it, I can't bet it. He needs to go and get his body right for Grand Slams. He needs to go and do some work on his fitness and his ability to stay in Grand Slam matches, and then he might be a viable contender in these markets. But at the moment, Fonseca shouldn't be 22-1. He should be more like 50-1. Mensik, he's going to be solid on this surface. He's going to get through some rounds probably, but don't see him winning a quarter. Tiafoe, unreliable, and Holger Rune also unreliable, although he has improved this year compared to 2024. For me, it comes down to the top 2 in the market. I know that's boring. I know it's chalky, but this is the state of men's tennis at the moment. As I said, I can force it. I can tell you that that Mensik's going to come through this side of the draw and he's one to watch, or Francis Tiafoe's finally going to get it right. But I just think it's going to come down to Fritz and Djokovic. Djokovic is mainly only playing the slams now. He turned up at Wimbledon and then he ran into Jannik Sinner, and that will probably be the case once again. I actually put more weight into Taylor Fritz and his price here at 7-2. He got to the US Open final last year, and he's going to be a difficult proposition for Novak Djokovic to overcome. I definitely think Fritz is going to get to that quarterfinal, and I fully expect Djokovic to meet him there. But I have a feeling that when they do meet, that the prices are going to be very close, and it's not going to justify these futures prices we're looking at now, with Djokovic being at 13-8 and Fritz being at 7-2. I think the matchup will be a lot closer than that if they do meet, where you'd probably see Djokovic as a narrow favourite, but only at around around about 4 to 5 minus 125, maybe even 5 to 6 minus 120, with Fritz priced up at around about even money plus 100 and 11 to 10 at best. And therefore, it's well worth taking Fritz now instead at 7 to 2 plus 350, whilst also taking Djokovic here in this quarter as well. I think there's value on both, because I think one of them definitely wins. So I'm not going to pick and choose. I'm just going to take a stake on both of these two, because one of them will win the quarter. There's no value and there's no case that I can make for anybody in the chasing pack. I think this comes down to Djokovic or Fritz to end up winning quarter 3 and probably meeting Carlos Alcaraz in that semi-final. So moving on to Alcaraz's quarter, he is the favourite, but he's only a 1 to 2 favourite here, because this is a more difficult quarter than the one that Sinner's in. Next up, you have Ben Shelton at 5 to 1, Medvedev, a former winner, at 12 to 1, Casper Ruud at 25 to 1, but he's never done anything on the hard courts. And then you have Jerry Lechka at 25 to 1, and everybody else is bigger than that. So we should be seeing Alcaraz and Sinner not only winning their quarters, but meeting in the final once again. And that is pretty much what I expect to see. However, in Ben Shelton, what we have on his day, and particularly on this surface, is a danger. And for me, a player who on his day is the third best at the moment. Now, I understand that is somewhat disrespectful towards Novak Djokovic. It's even disrespectful to Zverev, who actually took Ben Shelton apart on this very surface the last time these two guys met. So it is a bold statement to say that. The problem is that Sasha Zverev doesn't turn up for the big occasion. He has meltdowns. And whilst he did beat Ben Shelton at the Cincinnati Masters, I'm more confident of Ben Shelton rising to the big occasion, having that mentality to see it through and competing against the big boys rather than a Sasha Zverev. And after beating Ben Shelton, Sasha Zverev did his usual thing, which was losing to Carlos Alcaraz and not being massively competitive in that matchup, losing in straight sets. So I think Ben Shelton has more upside than Zverev. I think Ben Shelton is more likely to go on and win a Grand Slam in the future than Zverev. Obviously, he'll have to break the stranglehold when it comes to Sinner and Alcaraz being dominant, but he has the game to do it. And most importantly, he has the years in front of him and he has time to improve. So whilst I'm not necessarily expecting Ben Shelton to be in the semi-finals and to find a way past Carlos Alcaraz, at 5 to 1 plus 500, I'm willing to put some money down on Ben Shelton to capitalise on Carlos Alcaraz, potentially finding his way out of this competition early due to a lack of concentration. And we have seen that multiple times from Carlos Alcaraz. We saw him start slow at Wimbledon, drop multiple sets, and more significantly, just 12 months ago, we saw Carlos Alcaraz exit the US Open in the second rounds, beaten in straight sets, slipping on a banana peel when he was beaten by Botic, Vander, Zanderschlap. So that can happen. And if that happens, if he does slip up once again, if he does have that lapse in concentration, if he does come out of the blocks slow and somebody capitalises on it, then I think Ben Shelton is there to pick up the pieces. It won't necessarily be a case of Ben Shelton beating Alcaraz himself, but it will be Ben Shelton being able to beat whoever beats Carlos Alcaraz. So I think Ben Shelton offers up some value. Can't make a case for anybody else. Daniil Medvedev, obviously at a big price for a former winner. Can he switch it on at any time? Maybe, but we haven't seen that from him throughout the year. He first needs to get past round 1, by the way, because he's up against an opponent in Bonzi who beat him at Wimbledon, and he'll definitely be looking to avenge that loss. There was also some words said afterwards where Medvedev actually criticised Bonzi for winning that match, saying that you'll never see him play like that again, and you've never seen him play like that before, and that he raised his game, particularly for the Daniil Medvedev match. Well, when you say things like that, obviously that's going to lead to friction and there will be an intense environment around this match when these two play, making it one of the more interesting games happening in the first round. There are actually a lot of interesting games in the first round, and I'm keen to get involved in quite a few of them. I'm going to be more involved in round one than I would usually be, because I've been looking at this draw for over 24 hours, and it's not often that round one interests me equally as much as the futures, because I'm heavily a futures guy when it comes to tennis. All time across all sports, I've landed over 80% of my futures. So I love them. I believe in them. Some people don't like having their money tied up, but I believe that you should really have a separate futures pot, which is your real investment money, especially if you're investing in a service like mine that wins over 80% of the time. And it's not a long-term investment when it comes to tennis Grand Slams in terms of having your money tied up, not like it is with NFL futures, or particularly with soccer futures. It's only a couple of weeks, so I don't think it's a huge investment, and they've heavily aided towards us being 44-3. Sometimes they've even bailed us out when it comes to these slams, so they're very important. But I have had a very good look at round one, and I am interested in a lot of stuff there. So my main plays here would be to look at that Alcaraz and Sinner final once again. For them to win their quarters at 1-2 and 1-3, combining that together in a parlay. Sinner to win his quarter, Alcaraz to win his quarter, that comes out even money plus 100. That seems like free money, particularly when you can hedge on the dangers. There's no danger in the Sinner quarter, so for me the only danger would be Ben Shelton, and that would be it. So you have a 5-1 plus 500 hedge for an even money parlay, a double that I think will definitely come through. I like Zverev to win quarter two. I like taking both Djokovic and Fritz in quarter three. I like, if you have a book that has players to reach the quarterfinals or even reach round four, I like the look of Alex de Minaur. And that's really all I'm prepared to give out here on this particular show. As for a winner, I do think that Jannik Sinner will find a way to win again and to level Carlos Alcaraz when it comes to slams won. I think they'll both be tied on 5 come the end of this competition. I'm not putting too much weight into Cincinnati. I never buy into Sinner injuries. I do feel often there's some gamesmanship going on there. I'm not saying he wasn't sick at Cincinnati, but I also don't feel like that he would have pulled out of a Grand Slam final in that condition. Let's just say that without actually throwing any wild accusations out there. And I'm all for gamesmanship. Hey, listen, do what you need to do to win. Winning is the most important thing at the end of the day. Whether you need to take drugs, cheat, do whatever you need to do, as long as you don't get caught, I don't give a shit, especially if I've got money on you. So I'm not bothered by all of this Sinner stuff. I'm not one of these do-gooders. I'm not one of these cancel culture cucks that go online trying to cancel everybody or complaining about everything. You've got these this guy that I see in particular, his name's Pavi G, who's obsessed with Novak Djokovic, still thinks that Djokovic has a chance of winning a slam, which I don't. And I'm a massive lifelong Novak Djokovic fan. But when your time is up, your time is up. You can't go out there and complain about Jannik Sinner doing this and Jannik Sinner doing that and turning your account into basically what has become an embarrassing hate account for Jannik Sinner. Don't bother wasting time hating people, especially in individual sports. I can understand if you want to hate teams in team sports, but it's a complete waste of time and energy hating individuals. If you feel a certain way, just put your money behind it and make money off somebody being a cheat or whatever you think they are. Like, I just don't see the point. It's an absolutely pointless waste of your time, and it's just a really, really bad look. And this guy looks like an absolute moron, dedicating his life to supporting Novak Djokovic on social media when Novak Djokovic doesn't know that he exists and doesn't care if he lives or dies. And now he's turned his account into a pure Sinner hate account. And I see a lot of these Sinner hate accounts. Another one I see is Sinner is a cheat. I don't give a fuck. Just make me money if I bet on you. And that's really all I give a shit about when it comes to Jannik Sinner. So we're going to touch on the women's side of the draw, more so than we usually would. Before we do that, though, let me take this quick pause here to tell you guys that the Sports Gambling Podcast are giving away a $1,000 Circa NFL future, when you, the futures bet, by the way, when you can name their phrase that pays, you can submit that phrase that pays now by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/phrase. This episode is brought to you by mybookie.ag. That's your place to bet on every sport, including this US Open. You can also bet on the MLB, WNBA, golf, and of course your NFL football futures as well. So head over to mybookie.ag, use the promo code SGPN for a 50% deposit match up to $1,000. Terms and conditions apply, but that's mybookie.ag and your promo code SGPN. Let me also utilize this pause to tell you guys about Rhythm. Rhythm is back doing the NFL right now. Last season, they went 76 and 66 ATS. They particularly shined when it came to player props with their Josh Allen props going 15 and 8, 10 and 5 on Baker Mayfield, 13 and 5 on Tyreek Hill. And Rhythm also does MLB, WNBA, golf, and college football as well. So head over to Rhythm now. Get yourself our 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM rhythm. Also, be sure to check out Circa Million and Circa Survivor, the world's greatest sports book. Circa Las Vegas are hosting the world's biggest pro football contests, Circa Million, Circa Survivor, and Circa Gran Turismo, with $21 million in prizes on the line. Contests are open to everyone. You sign up in Nevada, but you can play from anywhere with the help of SGPN's official proxy. Go to footballcontest.com and use the promo code SGP to get yourself $50 off your proxy fees. That's footballcontest.com and use the promo code SGP to get $50 off your proxy fees. And finally, let me close out here by telling you guys about Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Best Ball Mania is happening all summer long. They're giving away $15 million in prizes, including $2 million to first place. No waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best Ball is simply the best way to play fantasy football. Underdog is also a great place to play Pick'em. That's where you can win up to 500 times your entry. So head over to Underdog Fantasy right now and take advantage of a brand new offer for new customers where you can play just $5 and get $50 in bonus funds when you use the promo code SGPN. Once again, bet just $5 to get $50 in bonus funds when you use the promo code SGPN. So let's close out by looking at these erratic women. We're going to look at the women's side of the draw here. And it's very interesting, to say the least. Sabalenka was the favourite. She's no longer the favourite. I think people have looked at this draw and have seen sense. Iga Swiatek is now the favourite to win the US Open. The 3-1 that was available on her is no longer available. It's now been bet into 14 to 5 best price. And Sabalenka, she's now wider. She was a joint 3-1 favourite. In fact, she opened up as a narrow favourite in some places. She's now out to 7-2 plus 350. Then a big drop down to America's Coco Gauff. She's at 12-1. The same price is now available on Elena Rybakina, who was available at around about 16-1 at one point. Still think there's value at 12, but I had a sprinkle already at 16. Then Maria Andreeva is at 14-1. Naomi Osaka's at 20-1. This is her best surface, by the way. She's by far better on the hard courts than she's anywhere else. Madison Keys, who broke her Grand Slam duck earlier on this year, is at 22s. Annie Samova is at 25-1. Victoria Mbuku, the up-and-coming force in women's tennis, is at 28-1. Emma Raducanu's won it before, is at 33s. Jessica Pegula, huge price on her at 35s. Jasmine Paolini is at 55-1. You go far further down with the women because anybody can win it, even as low as Jasmine Paolini, even as low as Clara Towson, who's at 70-1. And everyone else is bigger than 100-1. And even one of them could win. So women's tennis can be very interesting if you're on the right side of it. If you've got a dog, for example, who's if you've picked a dog who's going on a run, getting through these rounds, it can be very, very exciting. What happens more often than not, though, is that you invest in a favourite who you think is going to go on and win a tournament because they are particularly good on this surface or they're in a particularly good run of form, and they will let you down. Most of the time, you will lose money betting on this sport. And I'm not talking about tennis, I'm talking about women's tennis as a complete individual sport to men's tennis. It is not a good way for you to make money long term, which is why we don't often invest heavily in it unless we can pick and choose particular spots. And I do believe that is the case when it comes to the women's side of the draw on this occasion. So I'm going to quick fire run through the quarters. Sabalenka is the favourite for quarter one. She's at 21-20 best price. And in some places, I've seen an option where you can bet the field against the favourites, particularly against Swiatek and Sabalenka. And you can get the field here at 10-11, or you can bet on Sabalenka not to reach the semi-finals. There's basically a market over on Bet365 where you can say if players are going to reach a particular round, yes or no. And Sabalenka to reach the quarterfinal, no, is available at 10-11. So you can take the field at 10-11, or you can take Sabalenka to reach semi-final, no, at 10-11. And that is where I would be looking to, because this is a murderous quarter. You have Rybakina next at 9-2. She has got her game together just in time for the US Open. We saw signs of it at Wimbledon, but she's 100% got her game together now heading into this tournament. I expect her to do well. Raducanu's won here before. She's at 9-1. She's never played better, even though she's won since she's won the US Open, she's never played better. And she has pushed Sabalenka a couple of times now prior to this tournament. Then you have Paolini at 12-1. You have Clara Towson at 14-1. She's supposed to meet Sabalenka in round 4 and can give her a game. Vondrousova's won Wimbledon before, is at 33-1. Mertens is at 40-1. She gave Sabalenka a game at Wimbledon. Leylah Fernandez at 50-1, and everyone else is bigger than 66-1. My bold statement here is that Sabalenka won't come through this quarter, and usually she does. Usually it's straightforward until she reaches the semi-final. Then she beats herself by having a mental breakdown. And this year she's ended up losing 2 finals, collapsing at both Roland Garros and the Australian Open, 2 finals she should have won. So often it's a case of Sabalenka beating herself. And I think she's going to beat herself early here when she comes up against either Towson, Paolini, Raducanu or Rybakina. I look for Rybakina to win this quarter. There's far more value on her at 5-1 than Sabalenka. She's just more consistent when she's in form. And Sabalenka, she can either be unplayable or she can break down and anybody can beat her. And for me, she's just too unreliable here as a 21-20 best price, or more commonly 10-11 -110 favourite to beat what is a murderer's row of a quarter. So I don't trust her, even though she's the defending champion. At the same time, it wouldn't surprise me to see her plough through. But if I'm opposing her, I'm opposing her at big prices. So it'd be looking at Rybakina at 5-1 plus 500. And I'm willing to lose that bet. I'm also willing to lose a bet on Rybakina at 16-1 because I have that ticket on her to actually win this whole tournament. So that's fine with me. If Sabalenka finds a way to go through, that's great, but I'm not going to tie my money up in her specifically at 10-11 -110. I'd rather have my money elsewhere and lose a quarter of a unit on Rybakina instead. So looking at quarter two, Mira Andreeva is the favourite here at 3-1. Then you have Pegula at 5-1. Then you have Mbuku, the new force, as I said, Victoria Mbuku at 5-1. Samsonova at 9-1. Bencic 12-1. Everyone else bigger than 14-1. I should have mentioned Emma Navarro because I think she offers up some value at 20-1. So I'd be considering a sprinkle on her. Mira Andreeva, she did well at Wimbledon. She looked like she was going to be an opponent for Sabalenka in the semi-final, but she ended up losing in the end to Anisimova, who ended up then going through to the Wimbledon final and losing in not only in straight sets, but didn't win a single game. So that was humiliating for her. I think Andreeva should win this quarter, but I think there's some more value on Pegula and Navarro. I think this is a quarter where an American can come through. So I'd rather be investing my money on them rather than taking Mira Andreeva as a favourite. But if she plays the way she played at Wimbledon, then I do expect her to come through here and win this quarter. Looking at quarter three, This is Coco Gauff's quarter, and she's expected to win it here. She's the 13-5 favourite to win this quarter. I have seen her a lot shorter than this, so her quarter price is all over the place. For example, if you look at Bet365, she's as short as 2-1. So her quarter price is all over the place right now. But she is the favourite in all places to win quarter three. Behind her, you have Madison Keys at 3-1. You have Naomi Osaka at 7-2. Then you have Muchova at 14-1. This is always a sexy pick for people to go with Karolina Muchova because she can find a way to upset the top players when she's healthy. But it's her health that's the issue. She had a number of injuries, including a wrist injury, which is hugely significant when it comes to tennis. But I still think there's value on her around about 14-1. By the way, Naomi Osaka's as big as 9-2 if you shop around. Everyone after Muchova is 16-1 or bigger, and players I'm not really interested in because I do think it will be one of Gauff or Naomi Osaka here. I think there's some value here on Muchova. I think she's worth a sprinkle. And Madison Keys, obviously playing at home, could do it, but I'm just going to oppose her. I think Gauff should come through. The problem is with Gauff is that she's just changed her coach just before this tournament. She's also not playing very well. Her serve seems to be all over the place at the moment. So if you are going to take a 2-1, if that's what your book has available, I would be very hesitant to take that myself. I think 13-5, if you can still find it, does offer up some value. But Naomi Osaka, for me, offers up more value at 9-2. As I said, I'm happy to lose a 9-2. That isn't a big issue for me. It's probably around about a quarter unit stake. And it does give me an interest in this quarter. And I expect to get a runner here in Naomi Osaka. Gun to my head, I take Coco Gauff to fix up, get it right, and be better when it comes to playing in this tournament. This is your home tournament. If you want to be cynical, some of your future sponsorships do rely on this. A lot of your sponsors are here. You're going to be on commercials on TV. You're going to be more featured than anybody, and there is more pressure for you to perform and get right. But sometimes that pressure can be a hindrance, and things can go wrong for you. Sometimes it can heighten concentration, and suddenly you can see Coco Gauff rising to the occasion, performing, and suddenly her serve works, and whoever her coach is doesn't matter. But I think it does matter, and therefore I'd rather be with Naomi Osaka at bigger odds, even though she hasn't necessarily lit the world up since she made her comeback to tennis. Looking at quarter four, and this is where I have the most interest. Iga Swiatek is at 8-11. Anisimovan's at 8-1. Svitolina's at 14-1. And everyone else is bigger than 20-1. And I'm not going to talk about them too much because Iga Swiatek, for me, wins this quarter, and she does it without dropping a set. Anisimova's second in the market. She played in the Wimbledon final. She didn't win a set. She didn't win a fucking game. Like, Iga Swiatek absolutely played her off the park. Iga Swiatek now, off the back of having a little bit of a dip, can potentially finish this tournament back as the world number one. She dropped as low as 8th. And also, not only can she finish the year as the world number one, but by winning this slam, she's on course to actually be one of the best players in the history of the women's game. She could dominate now. She could win. She could take this momentum into next year off the back of winning Wimbledon and winning the US Open, and she could win every single slam next year, which would put her on to 10 Grand Slams, I believe. So that's what's on the line here for Iga Swiatek. I think we could be on the verge of finally seeing a female player absolutely dominating the field. That's what I feel that we could see in Iga Swiatek. She could potentially do that. So she is currently the world number two. She's been the world number one previously for 125 weeks. She has already won 6 Grand Slams, including 4 French Opens. She won the US Open in 2022. She added Wimbledon this year. The Australian Open is the one that eludes her. I think she'll go on and win that, and I think she'll go on and win this tournament as well. Now, if Sabalenka or Rybakina are waiting for you in a final, that's going to be tough. So I'd rather cap off my Iga Swiatek bets here by taking her to reach the final which is available at 6-4 plus 150, and by taking her to win the quarter at 8-11, which I think provides some value. So much so that I would not dissuade you from adding Swiatek to Sinner and Alcaraz winning their quarters as well. So you could have a three-legged parlay, and I don't think you'd have to worry about it. I don't even think your players will be dropping too many sets en route to you cashing that treble. So I'm very, very high on Swiatek here, particularly because he has such an easy half of the draw. I'm not just talking about the quarter where I expected to breeze through as an 8-11 favourite. I also think she's going to reach the final without too many issues. Do you want to see Coco Gauff there? Not really. Do you want to see Naomi Osaka there? Not really. But if that is the case, I think Iga Swiatek can rise to the occasion, and I think she can get past both of those two players. So I'm going to close out with a double lock on this show. I'm going to take a female lock, and I'm going to take a men's lock. And I'm doing this because I know I can hear you guys already sighing at the men's lock because you know what's coming. Your men's lock's going to be a two-legged parlay. I'm going to take Sinner and Alcaraz to win their quarters at even money plus 100. To compensate for that, I'm going to take Iga Swiatek to reach the final of the Women's US Open at the price of 6-4 plus 150 to counter the fact that my men's pick is a very predictable one and one that you've had throughout the year, but you've made money throughout the years. So who's complaining if it's been right for the last two slams and Alcaraz and Sinner have made you that money consistently throughout the years? So why change a winning formula, which is exactly what this is? So once again, your double lock on this show, one from the men's side and one from the women's side. On the men's side, we are going with Sinner and Alcaraz again. We don't need them to play in a final. We stop short of that. We need them to win their quarters. We're going to pair that together. Sinner's at 1-3 minus 300. Alcaraz is at 1-2 minus 200. And collectively, that pays out even money plus 100. And on the women's side, we are going to take Iga Swiatek to reach the final of the Women's US Open. And we are going to take Iga at the price of 6-4 plus 150. That's it for me and your US Open Futures preview. All of my plays for this tournament will be released over at lockbetting.com. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. We are destroying tennis over there. We are 44-3 when it comes to tennis slams since we started. That means we've won 44 times and we only have 3 losing slams. We've covered 47 slams and we've made money at 44 of them. So if you want to get these tennis picks, head over to lockbetting.com, the service that has 146 months in a row of transparent and tracked profit. And I encourage you, unlike others, to do your due diligence, do your research, have a look at the spreadsheets. Historical spreadsheets are at the lockbetting.com website where you sign up for the service. The latest spreadsheets are over on the Instagram at lockbetting. The latest 3 spreadsheets are pinned to the top of the page. And within those spreadsheets, you can see what we did at Wimbledon and at the French Open, where we printed money. If you have any questions, my social media is wide open. You can reach out to me at the Instagram at lockbetting or over on X at SGP Soccer. That's at SGP Soccer. Good luck with all of your bets as always, guys, and thanks for listening.